Over the past few days, the right has had some strange reactions to what's going on in Afghanistan. First of all, attacking the withdrawal in a variety of different forms when supposedly they were fine with it when it was Trump's withdrawal. But a little bit weirder is the stuff that they've had to say about the Taliban specifically. And it's becoming increasingly common across a whole bunch of at least the very public right when it comes to politicians, when it comes to members of the media. We're gonna go through a few. So first of all, here is what Donald Trump had to say just 2 days ago. The Taliban, good fighters, I will tell you, good fighters. You have to give them credit for that. They've been fighting for 1,000 years. What they do is they fight. So first of all, quick fact check. They have not been fighting for 1,000 years. 1,000 years ago was the era of like the Song Dynasty. They were launched, the Taliban's only been around since 1994. Which is when the mask came out. They're not that old, dude. But anyway, he really respects how good of fighters they are. Also, they're smarts. He said the Taliban has circled the airport, and who knows if they're going to treat us right. All of a sudden, they'll say, well, frankly, if they were smart, they'd really, and they are smart. They are smart. They should let the Americans out. Now, maybe that is the art of the deal there, Michael. Maybe that is him trying to encourage them through I don't know, is it reverse psychology? I'm not sure, to let people out. But he does seem to think that they're okay. And look, he last year was saying he looks forward, or it might have been earlier this year. He said he looks forward to the Taliban being in charge so they can hunt down and kill the terrorists. Like he's been able to find a little bit to like amongst the Taliban. It's about to go broader. But first of all, are you at all surprised by this? I think you know the general topic we're about to get into here.
Yeah, I mean, am I surprised by it? No, I'm not surprised by it. Everything is politics and everything is winning the Senate and winning the House and making the president look as bad as he can. So Republican-wise, I'm not. I don't like to give, Trump much air. It doesn't matter what he has to say about it. It didn't really matter when he was president. But if you want to go to some of the military leaders who were there when he was president, that's one thing. If you want to go back to other administrations, that's one thing. You don't hear many former presidents talking about this. I think by giving him the space and the air to talk about it, it's kind of a disservice to the conversation anyway.
Okay, then we'll move on from him. I don't want to do a disservice, so we'll move on to the others. On Twitter, supporters of the Capitol Hill riots in Washington posted pictures of American rioters next to images of Taliban fighters inside the presidential palace in Kabul. Now, just to be clear, they're doing that because they like the comparison. Like one could do that to criticize both. That's not what they're doing. On Telegram, white supremacists openly debated if the Taliban should be considered good guys because of their homophobic views. On 4chan, a message board frequented by the far right, the Taliban's military success was promoted as evidence that Western governments would similarly soon be toppled. And let's go to some of the individuals, because a lot of that is randos, and you never know how representative it is of anything. I don't know these individuals how representative they are, but they do have following. So Nicholas Fuentes, one of the most prominent white nationalist, white supremacists, said, the Taliban is going to ban abortion, vaccines, and gay marriage. Maybe we were fighting on the wrong side for 20 years. Paul Joseph Watson, who's one of the, I don't even know if he still is, but formerly one of the Alex Jones people, retweeted a tweet saying, walked past Afghan boys dramatically retelling the story of looters taken down by locals of the Taliban. Everywhere you go, people are excitedly talking about how criminals who had been freely terrorizing Kabul for months are finally getting the punishments they deserve. So I guess they're cool with the law and order group, no matter what form that comes in, seemingly not having a problem with the source of the law. Because previously, man, they'd love to demonize Sharia, but I guess they're a little bit better with it. But it does go a little bit more mainstream, regrettably mainstream, with Lauren Boebert tweeting the Taliban are the only people building back better. Representative Matt Gaetz tweeted, Taliban and Trump should both be on Twitter, more legitimate than the last government in Afghanistan or the current government here. So look, they hated everyone in this entire region of the world, from Iran through Afghanistan to the Middle East and all that. Now they're more legitimate than Biden's administration. These are sitting Congress people there. Does it matter at all, Michael?
I don't think it matters. I think at that level on the fringes, it doesn't matter at all. But I do think that if, they're very good at the anti message. So anything that could in any way hurt Joe Biden and prevent them from being more powerful, or accelerate them being more powerful, they're going to resort to. But I don't think that the narrative is sort of established by the Lauren Boeberts on Capitol Hill. She's pretty toxic to all but a very few members of her colleagues, and I don't think it's the message that they're going to glom onto in 2022 and 2024.
Would you say Matt Gaetz is similar in terms of how he's viewed?
Matt Gaetz is in Iowa today, right? He's in Iowa with Marjorie Taylor Greene. They have this tour going, so they have their adherents, and I don't want to downplay the impact that those people have, because they're the people that brought us Donald Trump, and they're the people that reelect people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. Well, I guess only Matt Gaetz has been reelected, but what I'm saying is, in terms of what the party line is going to be about, when more is written about what's going on in Afghanistan and the Taliban, I think they're going to find out that it's a message that doesn't really play very well with their base, supporting people who they went after for such a long time. But it is an opportunity to draw comparisons to both what happened with Black Lives Matter, which is a strong message among all Republicans when you hear them talking about the looters in Kabul, and I guess to a smaller fringe with the January 6th thing, seeing them in the presidential palace in Kabul saying that all Western governments have to come down. I don't think that's a string that runs through all the way through with most of the people.
Let me add one more wrinkle and see what you think. We talked earlier this week about some of Tucker Carlson's initial reaction to what was going on, and he went on at length about how this was inevitable because America, their fatal flaw, forget all the military stuff, the political stuff, making these people hate us and all that. It was that we tried to impose gender studies courses, and we liked the trans community and all of this like social stuff. And so he said that needs to be you have to force that on people at the barrel of a gun, because they would never accept it otherwise. He seems to be missing the fact that the Taliban is coming in with guns. But in his like overall thesis, we were the bad guys because we tried to force these people to accept these lib values. And he never says the good guys are reclaiming, but clearly they don't agree with all of the stuff that us, the bad guys, were doing. So he is presenting them as being the ones with the appropriate values. So he, I think, I think he should be on the fringe, but he has an audience of millions. He's one of the most watched people in cable news. Maybe he will abandon this. As you say, maybe it won't play. The idea that we should admire the values of these people, that perhaps something like a Taliban but white and Christian would work. Do you think that some of that might catch on if people with large followings like Tucker Carlson are trying to rewrite history in that way?
100% it will. I mean, he has a mouthpiece that is louder than that of even Lauren Boebert's Twitter or any of these others that we went through before. So his is more impactful because he is the most watched person in cable television. It's what makes that that rhetoric so dangerous, because it's very true that he will have an impact. And it should also be noted that, and it was a seldom. I hope the Turks reported it, but I don't know if they did because there's a lot to report every week. But the Republican Party dropped opposition to gay marriage last week as part of their platform. They still say that marriage is between a man and a woman, but they are no longer going to fight against gay marriage. And it was a small little piece, but then you hear Tucker Carlson, who is the mouthpiece for so many in the Republican Party and so many that adhere to what their platform is. And you hear him speaking in that way about the Taliban and about social issues and lib issues. It is political, it is wedge, but you also see what happens. They have to abandon them because they become much more popular. I don't think it's gonna have the same kind of impact.
Yeah, I'm somewhat surprised that development did happen, although it has seemed for the last year or so that the right has apparently figured out that open demonization of gay Americans is unacceptable. But I think we can still attack the trans community, and they've really turned to that. It satisfies, I think, the same craving on the right while being a little bit more politically acceptable. Unfortunately, it's a tragedy that still is on the right. For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.